To live without comparison is to remove a tremendous burden, a spiritual reflection on freedom, self-acceptance, and the illusion of measurement. From the earliest stages of life, human beings are conditioned to measure themselves against others. We are taught to evaluate our worth by performance, our beauty by standards, our success by achievement, and our happiness by how closely our lives resemble someone else's idea of fulfillment. Comparison becomes so normalized that we rarely question its presence. It operates quietly in the background of our thoughts, shaping how we see ourselves, how we see others, and how we interpret our place in the world. Yet, from a spiritual perspective, comparison is not merely a social habit, it is a source of unnecessary suffering. To compare is to divide. It creates the illusion that life is a hierarchy in which some are ahead and others are behind, some are worthy and others are lacking, some are successful and others are failing. In this imagined hierarchy, identity becomes fragile. Self-worth becomes conditional. Peace becomes dependent on outperforming or outshining someone else. And this dependence is a burden. Living in comparison means living in constant evaluation. Every success is measured against another's greater success. Every beauty is questioned in the presence of another's perceived perfection. Every achievement becomes temporary, overshadowed by someone who has achieved more. Even joy becomes unstable. You may feel content until you see someone happier. You may feel accomplished until you encounter someone more accomplished. You may feel secure until you perceive someone more secure. Comparison interrupts presence. It shifts your attention away from your own experience and toward an imagined scoreboard. Instead of asking, "Am I aligned with my values?" you begin to ask, "Am I doing better than them?" Instead of exploring your unique path, you begin to imitate another's. Spiritually, this imitation distances you from authenticity. Your journey becomes shaped not by inner guidance, but by external benchmarks. You may pursue goals that do not resonate with your deeper self, simply because they appear desirable in someone else's life. You may suppress talents that feel natural to you because they are not socially rewarded. You may judge your pace of growth because it differs from another's timeline. In this way, comparison becomes a subtle form of self-rejection. It tells you that who you are is not enough, as you are, that you must become more like someone else in order to be worthy of love, respect, or belonging. This belief creates tension. It creates striving without fulfillment. It creates a perpetual sense of lack. But spirituality invites a different perspective. It suggests that each individual is not meant to replicate another's path, but to discover their own. Your experiences, challenges, talents, and aspirations are not random, they are part of a unique unfolding that cannot be meaningfully measured against anyone else's. A flower does not compare itself to the one beside it. It grows according to its nature, drawing from the soil, responding to sunlight, adapting to weather. One may bloom earlier, another later. One may be tall, another small. Yet each expresses its own form of beauty without needing to diminish or outshine the other. Spiritually, human beings are no different. Your growth may take time. Your lessons may be complex. Your progress may be quiet and invisible to others. But this does not make it lesser. It makes it yours. When you live without comparison, you begin to honor this uniqueness. You shift from competition to curiosity, from asking how you measure up to asking how you are evolving. You become interested not in surpassing others, but in understanding yourself. You begin to notice your strengths without inflating them, your limitations without condemning them. Self-acceptance replaces self-judgment. This acceptance is not complacency. It does not mean abandoning growth or ambition. Rather, it means pursuing growth from a place of alignment rather than insecurity. You improve not because you feel inferior, but because you are inspired to expand. Growth becomes an expression of love rather than a reaction to fear. In the absence of comparison, relationships also change. Others are no longer competitors or benchmarks. They become companions on their own journeys. Their successes no longer threaten your worth. Their beauty no longer diminishes your own. Their happiness becomes something you can celebrate rather than resent. Compassion replaces envy. You begin to see that each person's path includes unseen struggles, fears, losses, doubts, and uncertainties that may not be visible from the outside. The life you envy may contain burdens you would not choose. The success you admire may have required sacrifices you would not make. Comparison often ignores context. It reduces complex lives to simple images. It forgets that growth is not linear, that fulfillment is subjective, and that timing is unpredictable. It assumes that external appearances reflect internal realities, but spiritually, reality is deeper than appearances. True contentment arises not from surpassing others, but from aligning with your own values and purpose. It comes from living in a way that feels meaningful to you, not impressive to someone else. To live without comparison is to reclaim your attention. Instead of constantly scanning the environment for evidence of superiority or inferiority, you return to the immediacy of your own experience. You notice what brings you joy. You recognize what drains your energy. You listen to your intuition rather than to societal expectations. This listening creates freedom. You may choose paths that are unconventional or slow. You may prioritize relationships over recognition, creativity over competition, rest over relentless productivity. These choices may not rank highly on external scales of success, but they may nourish your spirit, and nourishment matters more than measurement. Over time, living without comparison reduces anxiety. It softens the urgency to prove yourself. It diminishes the fear of falling behind. Because behind whom? Ahead of whom? These questions lose relevance when you realize that your journey is not a race. There is no universal timeline for fulfillment, no standardized path to meaning. There is only your unfolding moment by moment, choice by choice. Spiritual practices can support this shift. Mindfulness helps you notice when comparison arises. Gratitude redirects attention toward what is present rather than what is lacking. Reflection allows you to examine the beliefs that fuel insecurity. Compassion, both for yourself and others, reduces the need to compete. Through consistent practice, you begin to release the habit of measurement. You become more comfortable in your own skin. You make decisions based on resonance rather than reputation. You value progress without needing validation. And as this comfort grows, the burden lifts. You no longer carry the weight of constant evaluation. You no longer interpret every interaction as a test of worth. You no longer chase achievements that do not reflect your deeper aspirations. Instead, you live. You engage with life as it is imperfect, unpredictable, and uniquely yours. You celebrate your growth without comparing it to another's. You acknowledge your struggles without assuming they signify failure. In this way, living without comparison becomes an act of spiritual liberation. It frees you from the illusion that value must be earned through superiority. It reminds you that worth is inherent, that your existence does not require justification through ranking or recognition. You are not ahead. You are not behind. You are simply here. And here is where your life unfolds. To release comparison is to release the pressure to become someone else. It is to embrace the quiet truth that your path, however winding, however gradual, is valid. In that embrace, peace becomes possible, not because you have achieved more than others, but because you have stopped measuring. And without measurement, the burden dissolves.